So this is advanced threat hunting and anomaly detection with Splunk UBA. Is everyone in the right room? See, we're going to have fun today. So this is a slide you guys haven't seen before, right? Moving right along. My name is Tom. You can call me Smitty. Apparently, I also go by Tim Smit, although I didn't know that. I have been working at Splunk for almost 5 years, security in UBA, SME inside of the SE organization. I have helped with bots V3 and V4 over the past 2 years, content creation, and everything UBA inside of bots. Before Splunk, I had a life as a pen tester at Core Security, SE at Mimecast, which is mail security. Symantec, I was saying I feel like everyone has worked at Symantec one point in their life, so I have too. And Raytheon. If you guys want to tweet, I gave you a couple of suggestions on hashtags. 2 hours to beer, or I've been drinking since breakfast, whichever one you want to choose. All right, just a level set. Everyone knows what UBA is, right? I'm seeing nods. Can I explain? Yes, I can explain. So at a very high level, UBA parses your data in Splunk. It looks for anomalies in that data. And what I call an anomaly is a true positive from a security perspective. I went to Dunkin' Donuts this morning instead of Starbucks because they match our colors. That's an anomaly. It's not a threat, right? But then what it does is it stitches those anomalies around devices, users, and entities inside of your environment and creates what we call threats. And it does that with unsupervised machine learning. So there's all this cool magic under the covers that we're not really going to talk about, but we're going to talk about using it and how to pivot through the tool and look at things from a different perspective. I say up there, it's really exceptional at finding things that you don't know that you're looking for, right? The unknown unknowns. It's somewhat okay at crafting basic searches, but if you know what you're looking for, I always tell my customers, use Core Splunk, use Enterprise Security, that's what they're there for. It's not great at finding the first time Bob logged into a server, and actually, it is really good. But if you buy this product to do that, I'm gonna have pity on you. That's not what this tool is meant to do, right? So let's get into it. Who played bots? Boss of the SOC this week. Who wanted to play bots but wasn't able to? Right, so this scenario, what we're gonna look at is all boss of the SOC data. It's not anything that we covered that night. Part of what we're gonna talk about was covered yesterday in the security product hands-on, but there's a whole bunch of other stuff that I've added to this presentation. Everyone has a basic understanding of what boss of the SOC is. Is that a correct statement? It's our blue team exercise. Okay, so for those of you who participated and did not sit through the security product hands-on yesterday, I'll give you a little bit of a rundown. So, over 1,000 people in one room. Wi-Fi was wonderful for anyone that was there. I think next year we're going to give out dongles, USB to RJ45 and just hardwire the whole thing, right? Some statistics for you because we Splunk everything here, right? So we had 811 players actually answer a question. 335 teams played and 56 questions attempted per minute. Almost 18,000 questions attempted in 5 hours. Of those, 10,600 or so were correct. Almost 7,000 were incorrect. And over 3,500 hints purchased. This is where it gets fun. For those of you who play or have played a bots before, you know that after you get the answer right, you get a little option to put your search in, right? But it's a free-form field. It doesn't actually check for syntax. So we got some interesting responses. Our favorite one as a team is Christ alive, this question is nebulous. My favorite one, specifically because I came up with the question, in UBA there's a person named Mallory, her telephone number is 867-5309. Right? Everyone knows that song. Apparently not, because when we beta tested inside of Splunk, everyone outside of the US had no idea what 867-5309 was. So, in the question, we put what recording artist with the number of Mallory, example, Tommy Two-Tone. So the very top one is a response to that question. Hey there, that example, that was the answer, you tricksters, right? Another interesting thing, we had a telephone in the room, and one of the questions required you to text one of the players. Not us players, but one of the fictitious people inside of bots. We had 86 phone calls, which no one actually answered the phone, but I love this text message. Dude, when you're getting your life together, this is coming from you guys, right? Someone in this room could have written that. And finally, I love this picture because this is us creating bots for you guys in the middle of August in San Francisco at 2 o'clock in the morning. So we would start at anywhere around 9 o'clock in the morning and go till about 3 a.m. the next day. Go back to the hotel and get 5 hours of sleep, continue wash, repeat for 5 days straight. Anyways, let's get into it. Thank you. Let's get into it. So I took a little bit of liberty with the master slide, and our little model is going to be saying things throughout the talk, just so you know. UBA is awesome. This is the top bar of user behavior analytics for Splunk. And like I said, it's broken down by threats, anomalies, users, devices, and apps. And we're going to go through advanced threat detection, looking at threats first. We'll come back around and shoot anomalies, and then we'll wrap up with best practices. Cool? So I'm going to go into threats. I'm going to look at a threat called process initiated from suspicious directory. It just sounds bad, right? If I click on that, I'm going to see 3 threats. Do you see anything odd about those? Feel free to, I'm very interactive. If you guys don't yell out or question me, I'm going to start calling people to talk. So, do you see anything odd with those? What's that? What was? Well, that's not odd, but yes, that is a little odd. Thank you. Help desk, Frothy help desk is kind of interesting, right? Service print, do you see that one? SVC_print. Should that be executing anything in your environment? Just looking at this, I already know that there's something bad going on, right? And I haven't even started to delve into it. I'm going to click on that middle one and take a look at passkey. Now, passkey is supposed to be a password management tool, right? Turns out when I click on passkey and check out the anomalies, I'm going to come up with 2 unusual Windows security events for passkey.exe. First one is associated with Frothy help desk, which again is kind of weird. The second one isn't associated with anyone, which is even weirder. But I'm going to click on that first one because I want to drill into that. And one of the very, very cool things about this product is that you can pivot at any point to anything that you want to look at. Everything on the screen is clickable. So if I highlight Frothy help desk, I'm going to see the user Frothy help desk and all information associated with that user. If I click on passkey, like I just did, you're going to see everything associated with that executable. Servers, anomaly types, threats, people, devices, everything is clickable. So very instantly, you can be looking at the same instance or same incident from a different perspective, from like a device perspective instead of a user perspective. I'm going to click into this unusual Windows security event. And I get information here. I like at the top, you can see, and I'm going to have to squint here for a second. You can see that process passkey is uncommon in this environment. 2 occurrences out of 7.5 million. And the 3 that are the most common, task host, which makes sense, TI worker, okay, service host, those all make sense, right? That they would be executing a lot inside of the environment. 2 times out of 7.5 million events. That's why this is an anomaly. Let's scroll down. Anyone, I asked this question yesterday, security product hands-on. Someone was smart enough to say yes. Does anyone execute anything out of C, Windows System 32 print driver in the room? Anyone? Is there ever an executable that should execute out of that directory and launch out of that directory? No. I'll give you a hint, no. The answer is no. So I scroll back up. I'm like, wait, what? Right? I get the fry eyes. You ever get the fry eyes when you're working? Like, wait a second, that's not right. What, WTF, right? So we'll keep looking. Back at passkey, right, the executable. I'm going to click into the server. So this happened on A Grady-L. I'm going to click into that. And now I see, like I just said, very quickly, pivoting to a device perspective, I see everything that this device has accomplished or done inside of the environment. So I have 5 threats and 35 anomalies associated with this one device from one day. Do you think there might be some bad stuff going on that server? No, not at all? That's true. That's a very good observation. This is very well tuned, so something bad was happening. Click into that. 35 anomalies, take a look at that. I want to look at apps, though. I don't have Buttercup bucks. If I did, I would give, whoever answers this question, I would give you one. Anyone who is in the security product hands-on can't answer this, because we had this question yesterday. Anyone in the room know what fsquirt.exe is? You ever heard of that? They already said it, but go ahead. Yes, Bluetooth file sharing. Does that make sense to anyone? Fsquirt. I just scroll down though, and for those of you who played bots last year or saw my talk last year or has done a security product hands-on this year, you know that tar.exe was used quite liberally in the scenario last year. So what we did this year was what any good sysadmin would do, look for previous indicators of compromise, right? You're always adding to that list of things that might have happened inside of your environment, things to look for. So we did that here. And tar.exe actually popped a couple of anomalies. So I'm going to click into tar, and I can see 4 anomalies, 3 threats. When I look into threats, oh, that's not good. Possible fraudulently compromised account. So that's a custom threat that you can create, right? That's one of the things that we did this year a little bit differently. We had a couple of custom threats in there just to show you the power of the tool, the capabilities of things that can occur inside of this tool. This wasn't a difficult thing to do, but what's important about this is that these threats now associate with the users and the host names and the devices inside of your environment and increase their risk score. So it's a very simple back-end couple of clicks through a wizard to create a custom threat. But the most important part about that is it now affects everything else inside of your environment. So I want to see what tar.exe actually is. I mean, I know what tar.exe is, but I want to see what it's doing. So inside of Enterprise Security, there's this cool thing called Asset Investigator. Has anyone used that? Have it installed? Hopefully everyone. It's a free app. You should have it installed. It lets you investigate different things. So investigate asset, investigate identities. You can investigate processes. And this year new, you can investigate hashes. So we're going to go in and investigate the file process. I type in tar, click search, click window process starts. And I now see tar.exe being used to untar a tarball called print driver, which, as far as I know, Microsoft does not release print drivers in tar format. And I see tar actually creating 2 tarballs. Anyone speak German in here? Do you want to give it a go? Does that sound bad? He just said something sweet for the first one and literally password for the second one. Does that sound like a bad thing to have? So I'm not going to read through all of this, but this is what we just walked through, right? The suspicious print driver, Windows System 32 print drive. Grady is completely hosed at this point. Frothley help desk, like that doesn't make sense because it doesn't actually exist inside of the system. We see previous IOCs of tar and hostname. Googling for those is correct, what he said. I just typed those words into Google and I got password and goodies. So sweet things, goodies, probably, yeah. So that's threats. Anomalies. Now, if you remember how I talked about what anomalies are, right? Anomalies are just true positives that occur inside of your system. It's not telling you that there's something wrong. It's just something that occurs. So I'm going to go into enterprise security. And for those of you who have UBA and enterprise security, you are aware, I hope, that you can ship all of the threats and anomalies from UBA directly into enterprise security. Threats become notable events inside of your incident framework, and anomalies actually have a separate dashboard under user investigations. If you don't have that turned on, you should have that turned on. So I'm going to go in there. I think if you saw my talk last year or watched it online, we saw Minesweeper. You know, the sales guy was playing Minesweeper last year. This year, I'm just going to, I kind of went in and just picked one, SD.EXE. Does anyone have a thought on what that might be? Search and destroy? Close. So I click number 7, I think, 767, and found SD.exe. That's all I did from an ES perspective. I want to switch back over to UBA now, and I'm going to click on the anomalies tab, or the anomalies section here. I'm going to go up into the search bar, and you can drop it down, and it will say user, it will say device, it will say app. I pick app, and I type sd.exe. And sure enough, I have a couple of anomalies called sd.exe. And again, unusual Windows security event. But you can see that it's associated with the same user still. It's associated with the same server. We know that that machine is messed up, right? So we're just coming back at this a different way. Completely same endpoint, different ways to get there. Process sd.exe. So I blew this one up for you guys to see a little bit easier. 3 occurrences out of those 7.5 million events. Still seems pretty low from a execution perspective, right? We had 2 for passkey, now we have 3 for SD. Looking at the threats that were generated by sd.exe, we see this one. And I'm wondering, does anyone know what Rdputil is? Microsoft's remote desktop is MSTSC. Do you guys know that? Some of you, I'm sure, because I type it all the time from the command line, right? But Rdputil, if I saw it on my network, I probably wouldn't give it a second thought because I would think it would be remote desktop. It's not. I click on Rdputil, and I see threats, not again, processes initiated from suspicious directory. And it's being executed by, surprisingly to me, that svc_print user. Bye, guys. All 5s, right? So if I click into the Rdputil, right, guess what? I've seen that one, right? I've done this before. I know where that goes. It's executing out of that same print drive directory. So now I've found the same type of information coming at it from two different directions, from a threat perspective and just some random anomaly that I found on my network. And this is kind of bad, right? This is obviously if I have a bunch of executables executing out of a temp directory or a print driver directory, this is the look that you guys make when you see stuff like this, right? It's one of those, I said this during the bots when we had awesome Wi-Fi, amazing Wi-Fi. Remember that line from Airplane? I'm not gonna say it, but you guys remember the line from Airplane when stuff started to go bad? I said that at bots night. So what do we know? What do we do with this, right? And again, this is just a glimpse of what you can do with the tool and what we wanna plan for in the future from a workshop perspective. But you see that SD was executed, unknown. Rdputil was executed, unknown. The directory that is common to this entire thread, print driver, and I even put it down there because executing things out of print driver is a place I would do it, right? So I'm gonna go back and something actually piqued my interest when I was looking at this, and I see the svc_print. That user doesn't exist by default. It's not out of the box with Windows. It is, at best, a service account that should be not executing anything inside of your environment, theoretically. So I click on that, and I get my old grandma eyes out, and I see 4 threats associated with service print. And I see some bad things going on here, right? I see Rdputil, I see tar.exe again. I see one threat called malware with 6 users and 5 devices. That might be interesting to pick into. But I'm gonna click on the bottom one, the malware one with 4 users and 5 devices. Again, now I have a threat view of the events that I've been looking at, right? I could have started at the threat view, but I kind of got into this breadcrumb trail through SD.EXE. But I see a threat that I have suspicious domain communication, PowerShell activity, unusual geolocation, a whole bunch of devices, 4 people, Frothly Help Desk, Service Print, and system, whatever system is, and Audrey, right? And we already know her machine is hosed. So just interestingly enough, I want to go in and check out suspicious PowerShell activity. And when I do, yeah, the title of the slide, right? This isn't good. Every single PowerShell command that was executed inside of this environment is encrypted. I did the hard work for you. These are the 5 commands that were executed by that user through PowerShell. So you can see I'm adding some scheduled tasks. That seems a little odd. And they're around printdriver.ps1. Again, I don't know any print manufacturer that releases PowerShell drivers. Adding users. This is not good, right? I don't understand the stop service of the UMR, but you will in a second. So this is where we're new, right? This is where we're at. Hi. New stuff that we just found. Service Print is involved in a bunch of threats and anomalies. Service Print apparently executed encrypted PowerShell. Have a good day. Those encrypted PS commands were malicious and involved scheduled tasks. That's what we know so far. Now I'm gonna jump ahead because I only have 45 minutes total. I could talk about this for hours. Ultimately, what do we do from here, right? Where do we go? What are the easy things that you can do? Disable svc_print. It's obviously a malicious account. SD.EXE should be removed. Quite honestly, tar.exe should be removed as well. Rdputil should be removed. The 2 PS packages that were executed in those scheduled tasks, and again, this is something that you would be able to find very easily going through all of the screenshots that we have in the security product hands-on, but I don't have 2 hours. MS font was meterpreter, and printdrive.ps1 was actually the beaconing software that was going out to Imperial Stout looking for C2. If you guys played bots, you know what that means. If not, I might have just thrown a bunch of gobbledygook at you. Questions? This isn't the end. Please don't get up and leave. So, yes, sir. So the question is, should UBA see it as a beaconing tool? Yes, it would. The problem with this limited scope of data that we had one day, everyone knows how UBA works. It baselines data. It didn't see it as beaconing because it was brand new traffic. I do want to say, before we go on to the next session, I have to be done at 4:15, I think. But I'm more than willing to go out into the hall for any and all questions, right? So if you guys want to surround me out in the hall afterwards, we can have conversations. Please don't beat me, though. That was aggressive. All right, this is my favorite part. I think this was everybody's favorite part last year because we just had barrels of fun. Best and worst practices around UBA. If anyone knows Mike Dupuy, that's not Mike Dupuy. But if you don't know him, that's an inside joke. He'll see it. So very, very quick synopsis of what we're going to talk about here. We're going to go through what I call pre-everything. So prereqs, initial conversations around UBA. Then we're going to go through architecture, right? That's my favorite. And then go through usage. The first slide is going to be really, really bad things. If you want to be successful with this product, don't do these things. First slide, don't do. Second slide, good. Do the second slide stuff, okay? All right, so pre-installation. These are things not to do. I'll let you read it, get the chuckles out, then we'll go through it, the examples. One customer, and if any of these stories are about you, I apologize, but I'm not going to use your names, don't worry. One customer, we only have 1,000 users. The very first thing that we do when we install UBA is query Active Directory and get a list of all of the HR data. We sized it for 1,000 users, which is one machine. When we queried HR, have a good day. Man. Yeah, it's a very tough crowd. I mean, he didn't even look back. Yeah, I hope he's okay. We got back a query with 15,000 users. Now that significantly changes sizing and architecture of the product. So we're going to find out. I don't know if they were doing it because they only wanted to focus on 1,000 users, which is another very bad idea, or they thought that they could like buy a license for 1,000 and throw 15,000 in. I don't know. Second one. Second most important thing when we talk about UBA, data has to be SIM compliant. If you're not SIM compliant with ES, you're probably having pain. If you're not SIM compliant with UBA, the product just flat out will have a lot of problems. So best practice, when you onboard data for security, make it SIM compliant, right? Everyone does that. Yes, Tom, we do that. If you start data onboarding at 4 o'clock on a Friday and it's a security use case, wait until Monday morning. Don't do it 4 o'clock on a Friday is what I'm trying to say. IOPS. IOPS are important with Splunk in general. Every product at Splunk. UBA requires 1,200, not 800, not 400, not some SATA drive sitting under someone's desk. I had a situation where the customer was like, you know what? We have too much data for UBA. We're just going to send you one firewall. Or we're only going to send you outbound proxy information. That's just, like, everything that could possibly go wrong is in that statement. Don't limit, don't decrease your logging. Give us what you want, right? Because it's based on what you need from the product. Don't block port 80 or 443 or 22. Those are important ports in general in life. I would not block port 22 anywhere, but we've had customers do that. The bottom one is less technical and more businessy. And this is for all of you who have had a boss on an airplane read a magazine and read an article about user behavior analytics and tell you, we gotta buy that. We just want it. We don't know what we're gonna do with it, but we need it, right? Try very hard to stay out of that camp. Not that we won't take your money, right? I'm a sales engineer. That's what we do. But if you really want the product to work well, you need like strong use cases of what you want to do with the product. So this is best practices against those worst practices. Index real-time is required. DHCP, Windows security event logs, proxy, and firewall are required. DNS is highly recommended. Can you see me winking? DNS is highly recommended. I can't say it's required because product management is here. But it's highly recommended. Yes, ma'am, you have a question. So the question, and I learned this last year, I have to repeat the question because somebody watching it 2 months from now will not hear the question. The question was, what DNS vendors do we work with? What I would say is if you can get it into Splunk, we don't care. SIM compliant. What's that? SIM compliant. But as long as it gets into Splunk, we don't care. Yeah, we can talk afterwards. 1,200 plus IOPS, right? SSD. Use cases well defined, please. Please, please, please have a use case. All right, I went back. I meant to go forward. Architecture. I tried to throw in some 80s themes here. I sized out a UBA cluster at 10, and when I got on a call with the customer to do the installation, he says to me, oh, I ordered 2 extra servers just in case you needed them. Why? But that happened, right? What's that? Does someone have a question? Sorry. Installed on shared infrastructure. You guys already know this from core Splunk and ES and everything else. Do not share cores, do not share memory in VM instances. Everything has to be reserved or you're gonna have a bad time. Try to install on one of the 500 other Linux or Unix variants that we don't support. There is a list. We have a list. It's not one. It's not 2. There are multiple versions of Unix and Linux that we support. But don't install. Don't stand up 12 servers with Windows 2010 on it because that's not going to work. Don't just add a bunch of servers for HADR. There's a specific way to do HA now with UBA 5.0. And it's not just having a server just in case. That's not the way it works. And then this one I actually did have happen. Data center with Splunk was in California. However, the insider threat team was in New York. Guess where they decided to deploy UBA? New York, not Texas. Who said Texas? How is that even an option? I gave you 2 choices, neither of which were Texas. New York, California. DC. Oh, okay. NC, all right. So they installed it in New York. Splunk was in California. Guess what happened? Network latency is really a thing still to this day, right? And especially when you're paying someone else for that pipe, their intentions and their values and their best interests don't always align with your intentions and values and best interests. That's all I'll say. So, things to do. Size appropriately, right? We have the very next slide is going to be a sizing calculator that we use. Please use dedicated resources. I can't say that enough. Install on approved and supported OSs. The docs are available as of Monday or Tuesday morning on HADR. And try, ideally the same rack or the same availability zone in AWS if you're in AWS. Please try to put things as close together as possible. You're just going to have a better experience. Here's the sizing. This one always throws people for a loop, especially the second bullet. It's set, 16 cores, 64 gigs of RAM. If you give me a 96 core box, guess what UBA is going to use? 16. Space, not a huge requirement on space. And we always have AMI and OVA available for easy deployment, but we do offer bare metal installations as well.
Tom, do you have an updated URL for that tool, or is that
It is, so the question is, do we have an updated URL for this tool? It is up on docs. This is the latest screenshot. We have gone above 20 nodes. So we have, I believe, an installation with 45 nodes now. And I am talking to a customer tonight at dinner, which is going to be a hoot, about 120 node cluster. So yeah, good stuff. Finally, usage. When I say finally, don't everybody get up and walk out. That happened last year. It crushed my soul. Don't try and replace Enterprise Security and Security Essentials with UBA. A lot of times I've heard from customers or prospects, oh, I don't need a SIM. I can do everything with UBA. I don't need core. Actually, you do need core. But I don't need all this other stuff going on, right? UBA is really good at its set use cases. When you start to have a bad time with it is when you try to make it do simple correlation or a notable event type framework. That's not what it's meant for. So don't try to replace ES with UBA. Don't create a bunch of basic rules inside of the tool. You're doing yourself injustice, right? You have core, you have ES. I always say you have the world's best correlation engine already. Why are you going to try to do that in UBA? That's not what it's made for. Don't try to integrate everything into UBA that you already have integrated into Splunk. I'll give you an example. ServiceNow. Anyone use ServiceNow? Probably. Do you have it integrated with Splunk? Most likely. To create new tickets? No, she's shaking her head no. I'm sorry. Don't try to do that or redo that in UBA, right? You're already sending all of the UBA metadata to core Splunk. Have those rules set up in Splunk, and you just set them up once. You don't have to worry about 30 different integration points across 2 different products. It's just one product then. Don't treat it as a standalone tool inside of your environment. Everyone's seen the security portfolio, right? The giant slide with 5 different products on it. ES, Security Essentials, Core, Phantom, UBA. There's a reason that they're all there. And it's because of that. I don't know if you guys can see that, but that is my favorite. That's my contribution to anything at Splunk. This is my biggest contribution yet, this little 4-circle thing. ES notable events can be sent to UBA to affect users and devices inside of UBA. That data can then be sent back to ES to integrate with the risk framework. If you guys haven't heard about risk-based alerting, RBA, it's really cool. Take a look at it. And then ultimately, Phantom can act on that information. Take the online training, please. It's free. We don't do a lot of stuff that's free. You guys can take a picture of this if you want to. This deck will be up at some point in the next month or so, I believe, with the videos. UBA demo, reach out to your rep or ask me. UBA test drive, we can do that. We can stand up a new instance with populated data just to give you guys an idea of how to use it, play with it, things like that. And then, what I'll be working on for the next month and a half is a threat hunting on UBA workshop, very similar to what we have with the fraud workshop and ES hands-on and that kind of stuff. So, with that, please don't get up. Everybody's gonna give me 5 stars, right? My boss is standing in the back of the room. So, no pressure, but he's gonna check everyone's phone before you leave the room to make sure that, I'm just kidding. I have time for maybe 1 or 2 questions here, and then like I said, I will absolutely hang around outside for as long as you guys want. Last year, this went an hour extra because there were so many questions. We can't stay in here for the full hour because there's someone coming in at 4:30. I believe, 4:45. So we can stay here for a couple of minutes, but not super long. Questions? Hi. Oh, goodbye, thanks. Thanks for letting me know. He waved, yes, sir.
You mentioned UBA training. What training? There's only one class that I know.
Yep. So, yeah, so the question was, as far as UBA training is concerned, there is one free class up online that is, I think, 3 or 4 hours. So it's a considerable chunk of time. Bye, guys. Thanks for attending. There are other things that are coming. So like that workshop, that's going to be a training method. And if you're really interested in like hardcore UBA training, I think that we have something that we can do internally. We don't have, there's no class like we have ES admin, stuff like that. Okay? Yes, sir.
Back to DNS.
Yes, DNS.
Umbrella for DNS.
Okay.
So it's kind of lacking in some of the stuff it provides. Like query will only show the base URL. It doesn't provide a response. It says, it was responded to.
So let me tell you what DNS is useful for and why I highly recommend it, but don't say it's required. DNS data exfil. Beaconing, right? Web shell activity, things like that. But more importantly, DNS and to a larger extent DHCP inside of UBA does the device, what's the word I'm looking for? It basically it maps the device resolution is what it does. So it maps MAC addresses on the network that we're seeing to a machine name back to a person. So that's why DHCP is second most important behind HR data. DNS helps that as well. What's that?
Recommended but not required.
DHCP is required. DNS helps with that device resolution if DHCP is missing things or for whatever reason, right? So that's why I always say highly recommend it. If you're doing a 1 or 3 node UBA installation, I would be okay with you not getting DNS in there. Anything above a 5 node, I tend to say it's required, but it's not required. Just, I don't want to get in trouble. Yes, sir.
If I am adding the EBA apart from the ESS, how much effort impact my total effort should be? And do you have any standard formula to calculate the efforts for if I am 1,000 users or 2,000 users, if I am increasing, okay, how much efforts for the read part and the operate part?
So are you talking, let me rephrase or rebounce the question back to you. What impact does UBA have on a current Splunk installation? And then what impact or what process is adding more nodes or upgrading or?
Yes, effort window.
Effort window, okay.
Because I have to as a service, if I'm proposing to service my customer.
Yep, okay. So the first question, and this is a very important question. I'm surprised that no one else asked it. Impact on a Splunk installation, right? So if you're operating, not from a license perspective, but if you're operating at a core memory perspective of like 80, 85%, I would not add UBA. You're already over capacity for your Splunk installation. No one should be operating at 80 to 85% CPU, core, memory, all that kind of stuff. UBA tends to add somewhere, what I have seen in real life, around 10%. It just operates as a user searching across your Splunk instance. So it's not, it's not pulling data out, it's not storing data locally, it's really just searching across your data. Now, as far as effort to upgrade or add servers, upgrades are very simple. It's a patch. Adding servers is a little bit more complicated, but not difficult. We have processes up on docs that show you how to do both of those. And if you just go up to docs.splunk.com under the UBA section, all of that information is there. Thank you, guys. You still can't get up. No, you can get up. I am gonna pop out this little door right here. And anybody that has any questions at all, please feel free to hit me up. I will be at the search party as well, so if you find me, thank you.